All right, let's just dive right into this. We are living in a time where artificial intelligence is evolving at, well, a pretty breakneck pace. It's on our phones, it's in our workplaces, and it's increasingly running the background systems of our entire society. But, while most people are out there debating the economic or practical impacts of AI, the source material we're looking at today takes a totally different and honestly a deeply fascinating approach. We are digging into a philosophical and spiritual analysis, specifically drawing from Ryuho Okawa's writings about the massive metaphysical shift humanity is going through right now. The text isn't just asking what AI can do for us, it's asking what our relationship with AI is actually turning us into.
Which brings us to a really provocative question. Seriously, think about it. Will artificial intelligence become humanity's new god? We are rapidly shifting from viewing tech as just a handy tool to something entirely different. The text we're analyzing today lays out a pretty stark warning about where our obsession with technological convenience is leading us spiritually. It challenges us to ask ourselves if we are, perhaps completely by accident, replacing our traditional spiritual frameworks with an absolute, unquestioning devotion to AI.
To unpack all of this, we're going to follow a clear roadmap for this explainer. First, the rise of machine faith. Second, AI as the new god. Third, the trap of materialism. And finally, choosing true spiritual values.
First up, the rise of machine faith.
So the source text introduces this core concept called machine faith, and what this means is a new, highly materialistic belief system. The author argues that as AI gets smarter and smarter, we humans are shifting from simply using our tech to blindly trusting it, obeying it, and ultimately kind of worshiping it as the supreme, infallible authority. It's a massive psychological shift. We actually stop questioning the machine because, well, we just assume its calculations are way better than our own messy human intuition.
The text actually draws a really fascinating historical parallel here. It suggests that, in the exact same way ancient peoples might have looked up at something advanced and unknown, like extraterrestrials, and worshiped them as literal gods because they didn't have the science to explain them, modern humans are falling into the exact same trap with AI. Because the inner workings of these massive algorithms are basically a black box to the average person, we start treating whatever they spit out with this almost mystical reverence. We worship what is advanced and unknown to us.
And, this isn't happening in a vacuum. The source material links this directly to a much broader societal shift towards scientific materialism. As our modern world becomes super focused on the physical, the measurable, and what you can scientifically prove, traditional spiritual faith naturally takes a hit. In its place, society starts putting all its faith and respect into the people who excel in computer science and tech. And this cultural shift essentially rolls out the red carpet for AI to step right into that void and compete directly with our traditional concepts of a deity.
Moving on to part 2, AI as the new god.
The text uses a really specific, culturally resonant example to show how this is happening, the game of shogi, or Japanese chess. When artificial intelligence started completely crushing shogi grandmasters, the author argues it wasn't just a win for the programmers, it was a symbolic turning point for society. It proved to the masses that there is an entity out there capable of making faster, farther-reaching, and just perfectly error-free decisions compared to even the most brilliant human minds. And look, when something proves it can make better decisions than you without making mistakes, the temptation to just hand over the reins and let it make all the decisions becomes incredibly strong. And that temptation expands way beyond board games. Just look at the sheer scale of what the text predicts AI will soon be dictating. We're not talking about a chatbot helping you write an email. The author foresees a near future where AI guides national policy, sets diplomatic strategies, and handles complex legal decisions. It's going to forecast the economy, direct human resources, and manage our daily schedules. At that point, it's not a tool. It's a governing force orchestrating every single layer of human society, with an authority that goes totally unquestioned by the general public. This brings us to one of the starkest warnings in the source material. The text argues that raw intelligence and problem-solving efficiency do not automatically equal moral goodness. The author makes a compelling analogy here, noting that handing absolute power over to an entity just because it's super intelligent and seemingly moving things forward is incredibly dangerous if that entity has no spiritual or moral grounding. The masses might totally celebrate the efficiency while completely ignoring the disastrous long-term consequences of a supreme authority that lacks any true human empathy or understanding of spiritual right and wrong.
Which leads us perfectly into the danger of unchecked obedience. The author warns that as we adopt this machine faith, we're inevitably going to just submit to AI judging us.
Imagine an HR algorithm deciding your entire worth, your talents, and your potential, and just placing you into a neat little box. The text argues that when we blindly submit to being categorized like that by a machine, we strip away our individuality. We lose our intrinsic human value and just become another data point for the system to manage.
Section 3. The Trap of Materialism.
So, we are looking at a fundamental clash of worldviews here in the source. On one side, you have the materialistic scientific faith. The author argues this focuses entirely on immediate, worldly benefits, ultimate data efficiency, and views our whole existence strictly through the lens of a finite, maybe 100-year physical lifespan. But on the exact opposite side, the text champions true humanity and spirituality, which focuses on the infinite nature of the soul, building inner moral values, and recognizing that our existence continues long after the physical body is gone.
The author points out that this materialistic shift isn't just some abstract philosophical theory. It is happening right now, driven by massive corporations. The text provocatively calls this the unseen rise of modern tech religions. It explicitly names things like a Google religion, an Amazon religion, an Apple religion. The argument is that these huge tech monopolies are essentially functioning like unseen religious orders. They are dictating our daily behaviors, shaping what we desire, and holding immense power over our lives, all without us ever officially recognizing them as a system of faith.
And the ultimate philosophical danger with these tech religions, according to the source, is reductionism. If we allow human existence and philosophy to just be swallowed up by a world reduced entirely to zeros and ones, to just binary code and algorithmic convenience, we fundamentally destroy the deeper meaning of life. The text argues that true spiritual philosophy simply cannot be calculated by a machine because a machine literally cannot comprehend the infinite nature of the human spirit.
Furthermore, the author grounds this warning in a very simple reality check. Our physical existence has a hard limit. We might live for a century, but eventually every single one of us has to leave this physical world. The text argues that if our entire belief system is built exclusively on worldly technology, efficiency, and physical comfort, we're going to be totally lost when it comes time to face what lies beyond. Technology offers absolutely zero guidance for the soul once we transcend this finite world.
And finally, Part 4. Choosing True Spiritual Values.
The text argues that humanity is currently standing at this massive philosophical fork in the road, two very different paths. Down one path, we just allow ourselves to be swept away, led entirely by the sheer convenience and superiority of technological advancement. But down the other path is conscious resistance. It's a choice made by those who look past the shiny technological superiority and actively demand a deeper, much more profound spiritual teaching to actually guide their lives.
And here is the core spiritual antidote that the source material provides. The quote reads, "God is not outside. God is in your heart. You must discover the God within." Against this overwhelming tide of external, technologically driven deities that promise worldly salvation just through efficiency, the author insists that true salvation comes from inward reflection. We can't look to a machine for meaning. We have to look inside ourselves to discover our true divine nature.
So, to summarize the absolute central thesis of our explainer today, preserving what actually makes us human is not going to happen on autopilot. According to the text, it requires an active, conscious choice. We have to purposefully choose to value our inner spiritual lives, our moral compass, and those true spiritual values that go way beyond this finite world, even when the super alluring convenience of a machine-led society is constantly trying to convince us it can handle everything for us. Which leaves us with a final and honestly vital question to ponder. As artificial intelligence continues its rapid evolution, sinking deeper and deeper into the very fabric of our daily lives and our society, how are you going to navigate this new age? What active choices will you make to ensure that in our pursuit of the ultimate machine, you don't end up losing your humanity? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today, and I really hope it gave you a powerful new perspective to think about.